This week, on a very special episode of Waxing the Porpoise, G-Baby and the usual suspect Steve have the distinct pleasure to welcome Bob from the Straight Chilling podcast, acting as our compass rose to help us navigate our way through John Carpenter's spooky seafaring banger from 1980, The Fog. Join us as we batten down the hatches and get scurvy on some Jeppson's Malort, flashback fondly to a little Electric Light Orchestra, and pull the hook for a good old-fashioned Palm Beach release. Just what is this fog's motivations? Let the boy watch. Let's wax this nautical porpoise.
Chase, don't do that.
You see, we working on his brow chakra. We're just in back of the crown chakra.
All right, welcome back to Waxing the Porpoise. We are ringing in the new year with episode 40 now, recorded tonight on January 5th in the year of our Lord 2023. Just as a quick refresher, and to any new listeners tuning in for the first time, here we like to review the hidden, not so hidden cinematic gems previously unseen by our resident film neophyte and co-host Steve. We also like to discuss any number of strange, mysterious, or otherwise unexplained events and instances of true crime, or sometimes we'll just go into some kind of wild card topic of our choosing. For instance, we're kind of hot off the heels. We just finished up a pretty in-depth three-parter with our friend Dick Dog talking about his life story and all its labyrinthine plots and side plots. And we've also done a series on Steve and his day-to-day as an advantage player that I'm sure we'll come back to at some point as well. But with all that said, it's been a while, so I just anybody new to the show, that's kind of what we're all about. We're here for the deep cuts, only the choice nugs, as it were. And as luck would have it tonight, the nugs are as choice as ever, as we are gathered to discuss another one of my favorite John Carpenter flicks. Steve has not had the pleasure of seeing yet. Tonight, we're talking 1980's The Fog, starring Adrienne Barbeau, Jamie Lee Curtis, Janet Leigh, Tom Atkins, and of course, George Buck Flower for the discerning eye. Without further ado, tonight, to guide you through this fog advisory, you've got myself, Jim, the sage shaman of useless information himself, G-Baby.
The funk of 40,000 years.
And as always, we have the usual suspect, Steve.
Like, hit me with the phone, Dick!
How you doing,
Oh,
buddy?
man. Good. You know,
I've been
love
sitting
it.
on that one for a while. And
She was no Sharon Stone.
Yeah.
I think I'm dying here, man.
And then I'm very excited. Tonight we have a very special guest that I'm just tickled to have on. I can feel it deep down in my plums. Please welcome to the program the drummer, the backbone, timekeeper, host, and 1/3 of the Straight Chilling podcast, Bob.
Hey guys.
It's a sick world we're living in. Sick people.
What a
Welcome.
perfect bump. I love it.
Welcome. How are you doing, man?
I'm great. Very happy to be here. Thank you guys for having me. Thank you for letting me tickle you.
Oh, yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Hell yeah. We're hyped to have you on. Well, I am for sure. I know Steve's probably like, bro, pump the brakes, at this point.
No, my plums are tingling too. So
Awesome.
Let me get them plums.
A bright bluish hue. That's from, do you remember Eastbound and Down when
yeah.
Will Ferrell guested on the first? Yeah. Let the boy watch. I get to say that now because I have a son. Anyway, yeah, we're honored as hell to have you on Waxing the Porpoise, and totally appreciate you taking the time to join us. So, hell skeet, brother. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Let me wax them plums.
I guess real quick too, I'd be remiss. I know I've mentioned it a time or two here, but I'm a longtime listener and fan of the Straight Chilling podcast. Their greater community, unofficially dubbed Children, which has brought together a lot of like-minded folks, including myself and Steve. You who know by proxy now, I guess we've been on Ghoulish Uni's show a couple times. Logan and the two Nates, we've had a lot of fun with them. And Heidelberg's been on from A Cut Above, who they kind of spun off with John and Jacqueline, who we all know each other through the Straight Chilling podcast. And Miles, too, we had on recently for Possession not too long ago. So this is how I met all these people. And so to have you come on and join us for The Fog, Bob, this is kind of coming full circle for me. So I appreciate it again. And I'm psyched to talk about this film in particular because I know you're a fan. And this is one of my, I'd say top 5, maybe top 3, depending on the day, Carpenter flicks for sure. So with that said, too, knowing you really dig this one, where did your love affair begin with The Fog, Bob?
I was a latecomer to The Fog. I didn't see it until Scream Factory put it out on Blu-ray, I think in like 2015 or 16, something like that. So, yeah, that was the first time I saw it. I really, really enjoyed it, though. It definitely has similar vibes to Halloween, which I'm sure we'll talk about all that, which is one of my favorite movies and has been for quite a while. So it was sort of like an instant hit for me. But yeah, other than that, though, I'd never seen it. I know there was like a DVD copy of it that was around for a while. I don't think it was very good, but yeah, I'm a newcomer to it, really.
Nice. Yeah, that's kind of similar to me too. Like once I picked up like Escape from New York, Assault on Precinct 13. That was kind of my intro to Carpenter. And then then it was like the first 2 Halloweens and then this one kind of probably when I was mid-20s ish. But yeah, this one's really grown on me. And like this one and Christine, I feel there's kind of a similar vibe going on with them. And I love watching these around Halloween and Thanksgiving. And I was reading too, there was someone tried to make a case for this possibly being like having a Thanksgiving vibe, which we'll get into later, I guess. But anyway, with that said too, because Steve, you've never seen this before. What did you think of this one? And had you heard about this one at all in the past?
No, I think I had always sort of combined this one and The Mist into one movie that I hadn't seen either one of. So
I got that so many times when people are asked, what are you watching? My wife was like, what are you watching? Oh, is that the one where it comes in and the dude has to, spoiler alert, kill his whole family at the end? And I was like, no, that's the fucking Mist.
Well,
no need to review that one.
Guess I'll check that off my list.
I thought you'd seen The Mist with Tom Jane.
No, I read the short story.
Okay.
But no, I liked it a lot. It also reminded me of Halloween, which I don't know. I can't even think of any other John Carpenter movies I've seen besides Halloween. And he did Poltergeist too?
No.
Or no?
That was Tobe Hooper.
Oh. Yeah, I like the music. It reminded me of Halloween too. That kind of synthy,
Mm-hmm.
But I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Sweet.
It was tight from beginning to end, just what you would want a horror movie to be.
This one runs right at like 90 or like an hour and 29 minutes. So I was like, this bodes well for sure for Steve in particular.
Nice and tight. Better than The Burbs, eh?
Dude, that movie sucks.
Oh, I wore this for you, Steve.
Jim, I don't even know if I brought it up, but he was wearing a Burb shirt last week when we were recording, I was just fuming looking at it. Like, I take this as a personal attack. This is an affront to me.
You should.
I thought about I should have worn it again. Just make it like a pastime to just wear that
every week
on every podcast.
I
love that shirt.
Get me up to 11 and rip the knob off.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, so I can mark that one in the win column here.
Mark
for
it
Steve.
a 0. Over the line.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess before we get into the actual film, you guys want to crack open a shot of Malort? I'm curious to see how this hits you, Stevie.
It's funny. I smelled it like 10 minutes ago, and I was like, this doesn't smell too bad. I have not lost the smell in my sinuses since then. It's weird.
It's the same with the flavor. It just lingers and lingers and lingers. And if you insist, Jim,
yes,
we're doing it.
So for those who are unfamiliar, I mean, it even says on here, it has the aroma and full-bodied flavor of an unusual botanical. Its bitter taste is savored by two-fisted drink. I feel like they're really trying to prepare you subtly, like, hey, this tastes like shit, but it's kind of our thing.
Very much so.
Unusual botanical. Oh.
Cheers, fellas.
Why?
Why? I think
Why
that's
would-
a lot of people's first reaction is why.
What this flavor's intentional?
Fucking hell. God damn.
I challenge you to make something that tastes worse.
Oh god.
I think you'd be.
Well, isn't that a feat in and of itself?
Not really. I mean, I
No?
feel like I could crack open some rubbing alcohol and it wouldn't be as bad as this.
It tastes like Lysol, right? Like you sprayed Lysol into your mouth.
Yeah, it does. Or like a really shitty cologne.
Yeah, that too.
I remember I got it was, I think for a straight chilling watch party, a Joe Bob watch party, I picked up a bottle when I was out here like a year and a half ago when we were looking for houses in Indiana. And I strolled into a Belmont and I saw one. I was like, holy shit, it's a bottle of Malort.
I'm going to let my cat smell it. Oh, she is not a fan.
Just claws your face off.
She's
And
Smart animal.
I was like, fuck, what do I pair this with? So I got a few different chasers. I found pineapple, like the Dole, like in the like little can, like the pure 100% juice pineapple. That cuts it pretty good. It's a pretty good backer.
It's moving from the front of my mouth to the back. And
From the window to the walls.
To the Malort, drop off your balls.
yeah,
Oh boy.
I got Malort balls.
the evil is spreading. That's weird because it doesn't really smell that bad, but it tastes fucking horrible.
Yeah, it's terrible. There's a pretty funny YouTube video that's of this dude he's trying to like shoot a promo for Malort, and he'll take a shot and say, Malort, I'll have another, but he's like trying to mask the fact that it tastes fucking terrible, and he downs like a whole bottle by the end of it and ends up puking on himself. It's really funny. I recommend checking it out.
Oh man, and it's only 35%.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where it's like, man,
What else is
the pain
in,
doesn't really.
What's
not
in
worth it.
you? What are you? What is in this?
It's like you're talking to yourself in a mirror. you Swedish
Chicago.
bastard.
It's the taste
Yeah.
of Chicago.
Oh god.
Like a full-on Malort side plot here. Cool. Well,
This is
I'm
what
glad
alien piss tastes like.
Hell yeah, brother. I'm drinking alien piss tonight.
Or if you put a trough under a bar that all the degenerate longtime drinkers would piss in and then just tip it over into a shot glass.
Oh, fuck.
the Zamboni shot.
Have you guys ever seen After Midnight?
Which one? The anthology or the one with the dude who did Battery?
The battery guy.
Oh yeah, what's his face from last podcast on the left does
Yeah.
a bar mat shot.
Yeah.
What do they call those?
I don't know what the typical nomenclature is, but in the movie he calls it a gorilla fart, and I thought that was fucking hilarious.
I jokingly told Jim, because Jim actually was kind enough to buy me a bottle of this dog shit and send it to me.
Kind?
Yeah.
Kind?
And I texted him like,
That was a gift, Todd.
all I know about, yeah. I want my painting back. All I told Jim about this stuff, I was like, all I know is that I've heard it just tastes like Bigfoot's dick, which I think is pretty accurate.
You got to play tummy sticks after you drink Malort.
Oh man, I want to switch that out into a different liquor bottle and try to trick my old lady into drinking it.
This
Dude.
is great whiskey. It's the best I've ever had. You got to try it.
Yeah. Smooth, goes down like a depth charge. Cool. Well, that was fun. I wish I could have joined you fellas all in the pain, but
Sure.
next time.
I imagine it's similar to the time, Jim, you ate I don't know what it is exactly, but it's like a fertilized chicken egg.
Oh, what is it called? Balut?
Balut. Yeah.
Yeah. Dude.
But it's like fermented and half formed, and
yeah.
it put you down for like a week, if I remember right. Like,
Yeah, it was like 2 or 3 days.
well, I
but-
remember like it physically made you feel ill when you ate it, but then there was like a day or two after that where
Yeah, I had to stay
you
home
couldn't
from
even
work.
come to work. Like,
Wow.
dude,
Yeah,
dude,
I
that
just-
fucking egg fucked me.
Dude, yeah.
It was so gross looking.
Yeah, it was definitely putting your thumb over the hose, like out of my ass. It was I was pissing with force, man. It was terrible. It fucking. And I remember because we have a buddy who was, I don't know, what was he? Was he Filipino or?
Yes.
And yeah, so he and his family had a lot of like traditional stuff, and he brought in some. He's like, yeah, and I remembered. I was like, oh yeah, I'm fucking cool. I can eat that because I just saw it on like Travel Channel, like street food. Balut.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know balut. I can eat that, and I fucking wolfed it down. And I remember being like halfway through it, like I could taste like little cartilage, like formed bones in the egg and the yolk, and I was like, this was a bad choice. And yeah, that shit knocked me down, man. And it's funny, my wife was like, I told you not to eat. Why the fuck would you eat that? I told you not to do that. Look at you now. Even just wallowing on the floor.
Couldn't hang with that. That's too much for me.
Even just looking at it was foul as shit.
Yeah.
Yep. That's dudage 101, trying to be a tough guy, and it just fucking 180s on you.
I'm sorry about your ass, Jim.
I'll pray for your cock.
Dude,
All right,
Pine Sol was spot on. I'm definitely picking up.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Yep. Clean your floors and disinfect your insides.
I bet drinking straight antifreeze is not as bad as this.
At least you die at the end.
Yeah. Very, very true. The sweet release of death.
12 hours how your south mouth feels about it, but all right, yeah, let's get into the foggage. So this I like how this kind of starts out with that Edgar Allan Poe excerpt.
Yeah.
Is all that we see or seem but a dream within a dream. I immediately Googled where it came from, and it finishes, it says, I stand amid the roar of a surf-tormented shore, and I hold within my hand grains of the golden sand. How few, yet how they creep through my fingers to the deep while I weep, oh God. I thought that was a cool intro to this.
That's spot on.
I didn't know you were a gothic teenage girl.
I did. Cool.
And then we go into like I love the intro, the old man in the sea, like creeping out the little kids, the 11:55, almost midnight, all that. I was like, dude, I can't wait till my kids get a little bit older. I'm going to fucking intro just like that, like just stone cold, like time for one more story to keep us warm.
Send him away to a pedo day camp with the Gorton fishermen.
Jesus.
No, that was cool though. Like just an old man telling creepy shit to these little kids.
Yeah, like just going in on them.
Yeah, the creepy campfire tale paired with the Edgar Allan Poe quote really like sets the tone of the rest of the movie. It's got this like slow, methodical, creeping pace that sort of feels like a typical ghost story, but it's not just like a boring ass like, oh, I'm in a haunted house situation. But yeah, I love the campfire sets it up. That was like an afterthought, I think, to like pad out the movie a bit because the runtime was so short, but it adds a lot. I think it's a great way to start the movie, honestly.
Yeah, totally. I mentioned, or I noticed this time when I was watching it, it takes a long time actually to build up. I think it was like the 12-minute mark before we're through the credits, like how they kind of stretch them out. But I like how it kind of set the set and setting of the coastal California town and the spookiness and like, you're immediately thrust into the seafaring ghosty story. I really like how they set this one up with the fog rolling in and the backstory. The Elizabeth Dane is the ship that has wrecked. And later on, I like how they don't dump it all at you at once too. They kind of, they give you crumbs throughout, culminating really kind of towards the end with Father Malone filling in the rest of the story. I like how they did that, like just story wise. But so this takes place in Antonio Bay, which is fictitious, but I thought also a reason you would like this a lot, Steve, too, because I know you and your old lady like to go to the coast of California quite a bit, which is only like a 2 or 3, 4 hour jog from where you guys are at. But I think this is just south by maybe a couple hours. So like the main, I think it's Point Reyes Station and Inverness. They're right next to each other. Have you ever been there?
Yeah, It's funny you brought this up because I was going to shoehorn this story in no matter what because it was so funny. Yep, big fan of the North Coast of California. Not a big like hot beach person, so like Northern California beaches are usually cold and kind of overcast, which is more my jam. And so
Totally.
when the scene happens where she gets to the top of the really long staircase that goes down to the lighthouse,
Dude, that shit looked so dope.
well, I turned to the missus and I was like, we've been to that lighthouse together, haven't we? And she's like, yeah, I think so. And so she's checking on her phone. She's like, oh no, we've never been there. Hollywood? Oh wait, yeah, that's Point Reyes. We've been there together. I'm like, what the fuck are you? Did you think that was Hollywood? And she's like, well, it says that it was filmed on the whatever soundstage in Hollywood, and then also Point Reyes Lighthouse. And I just looked at her like, you are so fucking stupid. She's very smart, which is what made it even funnier.
You're stuck now, Steve.
Because it was such a dumb thing to say. Like, yeah.
Well,
but when we were there, they had the staircase closed, if I remember right, because it was so windy. It would just like pick you up and fucking throw you out to sea.
Damn.
imagine.
But it was really cool, just that whole area. So,
Yeah. I mean, to the uninitiated, you look at like where shit is filmed. There's some layers to like vet out like because they shoot like pickups and like certain things at a soundstage, but then like you kind of got to sift through to see. And IMDb is pretty good because it'll tell you like which scene. Sometimes like Bill and Kathy stopped into the liquor store here, and it'll have that location. But like I think. Another thing I like about this setting and Carpenter is he likes to shoot a lot of stuff on location, which, I mean, he does as much as he can, but like with Halloween 3, this reminded me a lot of Halloween 3 because he filmed in Lolita, California, which is up by Humboldt, Eureka, so quite a bit farther north. But he shoots there like almost exclusively for Halloween 3, and he did that for The Fog as well at Point Reyes Station in Inverness. I think the only other main spot is the church, that dope church. That's in like Altadena, I think, which is on the outskirts of, it's like in the Inland Empire down in LA. But I really liked, especially, I even made a note of it. I think it's like halfway or maybe 3/4 of the way through the film when Adrienne Barbeau, Stevie, when she goes back to the station and it shows that big like long shot. I was like, that fucking looks awesome, just like the scenery, but also like goddamn for 1980, like just the way they shot everything, it looked like exceptional to me. Like it kind of blew me away that it was from 1980 and they were able to catch like the waves and just everything about that was fucking awesome.
Dean Cundy was the cinematographer on this movie he's worked a lot with John Carpenter, but also just like is probably one of the most famous DPs in like cinema history. He's done a lot of work with Spielberg too. So like he shot Halloween, he shot this movie, he shot The Thing, Jurassic Park.
Hold on to your butts.
Like he's got a pretty incredible like catalog of movies that he's done, and like everything that he does looks amazing. So like The Fog is definitely among his filmography for sure.
Damn.
The lighting and shit too. Like I mean, some of it looks a little bit hokey with like the fog rolling in, being from 1980 or whatever. But for the most part, I think like every shot with like the silhouetted pirates and the slow moving fog. And the stuff in the church with like the glowing cross, and even like the more mundane shit where like they're just shooting the convenience store at the beginning of the movie. Like there's nothing really cool happening per se, other than stuff is kind of rattling around. But it looks fucking beautiful, right? Like the way it's shot just looks so clean. And thank you, Dean Cundy.
That's one I didn't look in on the background, like who created the film, other than John Carpenter and his partner, what's her name, Deborah Hill. And I'm wondering, is it because now it's really common that you see director of photography on like the credits? I don't remember seeing Dean Cundy on the credits, or did I just fucking gloss that over?
Yeah, he's on there.
Oh, okay. I'm an idiot then. I feel like that would have jumped out at me, but it makes sense too because John Carpenter also, he does like to use not every movie, but it seems like he has kind of like a core group of professionals
Oh,
and
yeah.
actors that he
Yeah.
works with really frequently, which makes sense too. He's comfortable with them and they do a great job. But yeah, the cinematography of this movie is fucking awesome. And it struck me even, at the end, the Gold Cross, I remember watching that. I was like, dude, I've seen so much shittier movies like post 1980 that couldn't pull something like that off. I was like, how the
Totally.
fuck did they, like, I know nothing about filmmaking and like how you create effects, but I was really like, how the fuck did they make that cross glow like that, not look like dog shit in 1980? That was
Yeah.
super cool. So
In addition to Dean Cundy shooting this, Deborah Hill produced it, of course. Tommy Lee Wallace is like another old time John Carpenter collaborator. They were in a band together for a while called the Coupe de Villes, which
oh yeah,
there's like a needle drop in this movie where they're like, hey, this song is from the Coupe de Villes. I don't think it really was, but it's like a callback to their band. But he was a production designer on this movie. And there's a lot of like returning actors from like Halloween, Charles Cyphers, Jamie Lee Curtis, Nancy Loomis, of course, Tom
Annie,
Atkins. Yeah, Annie. Tom Atkins from Halloween 3. And Rob Bottin, who did all the practical effects in The Thing, plays Blake, which is like the main ghost pirate guy.
Oh yeah,
in
the
this
red
movie.
eyes.
Yeah. So John Carpenter totally has that like filmmaking kind of family that he pulls from regularly.
Yeah, I like that too, and I noticed a lot of the people, and I noticed too the cast list. They the cast of the characters. Like one dude's name is Dan O'Bannon, who I know he worked with when he was younger at USC, and like Nick Castle was Tom Atkins' character.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool. He kind of peppered in the different names, and he's done that in other stuff too, which is kind of one of his hallmarks.
I like that he does that, but it also eventually becomes confusing because you're like, wait, is this the character's name or is this the actual person playing a character in the movie? Like fucking Nick Castle played, the Shape in the original Halloween. There's a character named Nick Castle in this movie here. Adrienne Barbeau, I believe when this movie came out, Barbeau was married to Carpenter, or they got married right after, something like that. They were husband and wife for a while.
Yeah.
And then Janet Leigh being Jamie Lee Curtis's mother. So it's very much like a tight-knit kind of family-run picture here, which is interesting.
Here's a kind of a wild side tangent, too, about concerning Adrienne Barbeau and her marrying Carpenter. I just heard this recently. I think it was Rich Evans on Red Letter Media kind of went off on this like fucking thing about Charles Cyphers used to work a lot with Carpenter. And there was like some weird love triangle, and like he threw down a funky theory by just kind of like looking at the dates and when Adrienne Barbeau and Carpenter broke up, and then it's like, oh, he didn't work with Charles Cyphers anymore, and there were some rumors that Cyphers was like fucking around with Barbeau off to the side. So I can't remember if this was like the last film that they all worked together on, or that he worked with Charles Cyphers on, or maybe it was a few years later, but I thought that was interesting.
Well, Charles Cyphers' character in this is definitely like horn dogging all over Barbeau for sure. So
that's the weatherman guy.
Oh, okay.
Steve.
Yeah, I was gonna.
Dan O'Bannon. Which,
Yeah.
to clarify,
weather dies tonight.
that poor old man.
I felt like they were definitely setting him up to be a guy who dies that you don't really care that he dies. So
yeah,
totally. For sure.
And he
red
does.
shirt,
Yeah, I will say, after watching this again after probably not for a couple years, I was like, damn, I forgot how it is pretty light on actual kills in this flick, but I feel like it's not a detriment. Like I feel like everything's spaced well enough and paced well enough that I'm not really looking for that. It's more of like it's a creepy factor that this film captures really well that I like a lot. I'm a sucker for like ghost stuff too, so this is right up my alley with like a Carpenter vibe that's heavy on ghost stuff. It's kind of, there's some like weird like Final Destination elements too. Like when the one effect that they did that I really liked is when Adrienne Barbeau's son, that little Andy Milonakis looking kid, he's 7 or 30 or fucking He's such a cute, weird-looking kid. When he brings in that piece of driftwood or from the boat, when it turns from like a coin to a thing, and the Dane from Elizabeth Dane, and when she has it in her radio booth and it starts fucking like bleeding that water and like leaking the water up and through and melting down the fucking sound shit, and then that creepy voice of Blake comes through and says that cryptic shit. I like that a lot. I was like, fuck, how'd they do that? Probably reverse shot it like the way they do with Christine busting the fucking car up and then having it come back.
Do you guys have any idea what a stomach pounder is?
I don't. I figured, I was like, oh, like a burger or something, just like local slang for just like a meat, like a triple decker burg.
Yeah, that's
I don't
know. That's a good guess. I have no idea.
But then I was like, the way he said it was like, maybe it's something else. Like, I don't know. Yeah, that struck me this time too. Like
a stomach pounder and a Coke.
Yeah.
God
maybe
damn,
later.
Maybe it's candy because she says after lunch. So if it is like
that's what made me think like why would she agree to fucking give this kid a greasy ass slider after lunch?
You know what it's gonna be from here on out is a shot of fucking Malort. That's a stomach pounder.
That's more like a stomach
with
pumper.
A Coke backer. God
yeah.
Damn.
I'll have a quadruple Hennessy with a gin back.
God damn.
I need to find that bump. It's from a Cat Williams from a long time ago where he's like super nervous and he's like sweating and shit. He's describing a story where he's like in the lobby of somewhere and he's super nervous for like a job interview. And like, can I get you anything, sir? A tea, a water? He's like, I will have a quadruple Hennessy with a gin back. Thank you.
Get fucked up in the next 5 seconds, please.
Yeah. Oh, fuck. Oh,
can I get an instant blackout?
Yeah. Serious.
Oh, a shot of Malort coming right up, sir.
Oh, God. That should be like a code in bars for like I need help right now.
Right, yeah. Call the cops.
Speaking of ambiguous ages, so Adrienne Barbeau,
yes.
As you both are aware, I don't know anything about movies, but that name sounded so familiar. I thought she was like one of these old starlets, and I think I tried looking it up afterwards who I was thinking of, but I think I was thinking of what's her name, like Bridget Bardot or some other French gal who's much more attractive. And so this whole movie I kept thinking she's either young and looks old, or she's old and looks young.
It's a 50-50.
Yeah, so that was the first thing I looked up when it was over. 35 when this was made. You could have told me she was 50 and I would have believed it.
Damam. Like,
I don't think she looks that old, honestly. Like,
I'm not trying to knock her, but I can see like she's got corner of the mouth like wrinkles.
So if you had told me beforehand, I guess what I mean is if you told me at the beginning like, oh, this lady's 50, I'd be like, she looks good for 50. But if you said she's 30, I'd be like, she looks old for 30. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And not to knock her, like we're not trying to like fucking body shame or anything like that. I think it's just a sign of the times because this shit, I swear to God, maybe it's like the fucking Mandela effect or some shit. But me and my wife are always talking about it. It's like, God damn, dude. Like we're looking at a thing. It was like Archie Bunker when he did All in the Family, Carol O'Connor. It's like, I can't remember what the age was, but it's like he looks like he's like 65 and he was like 42. It's like it feels like, you know, people look way the fuck older, you know, when they were in high school in 1980 versus now, you know, but maybe that's just like a recency bias or like just our in the present perspective of things. But sometimes it does, dude. You see like people that are like seniors in 1979 and they look like they have a mortgage and 3 kids and a full fucking mustache. It's like, what's going on here?
She has like angular features, and I think it also might have something to do with like the way her hair and her clothes are styled. Maybe it's like seems like she's a little bit older, and maybe they were trying to like age her up a bit because she's got a kid and like an important job. I guess I don't know.
I could definitely see that, like a style thing that imparts like an older look.
Yeah,
fair.
But I also have the opposite thing now, where when I see young people, they look so much younger than they actually are.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
living in a college town. You drive through town, it's like, are you 11? You're 22, and you're going for your masters or whatever, but you look like you're 11 years old.
Yeah.
So I think some of it's like a perception thing as you get older, but in her case, I think part of it is like a stylistic.
Well, maybe it is style is a big component too, because when shit goes out of style, it can impart like an age, maybe an unconscious or subconscious kind of age effect in your mind too. Like you think about like Jinko jeans, like fucking people could live inside the bottom of your Jinkos.
I'm wearing some right now. Never take them off. Wear them to sleep. I don't need a comforter. I
just live in one leg and then use the other leg as a cover.
Speaking of like ages and shit, I think we need to talk a little bit about Tom Atkins in this movie. I really don't know how old he is in this movie. I couldn't tell you, but like his character seems a good bit older than Jamie Lee Curtis for sure, I would say. Yeah. And they have this like romance that happens so instantly that's based on basically nothing.
Zero.
And they fuck, and then afterwards they're like, "Oh yeah, by the way, what's your name?" And then they exchange like, what a weird situation. I don't know. Like, I don't know. What are they, like 20 years difference in age? 10 years difference in age? I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably 20.
Yeah.
Daddy issues.
Maybe.
I thought it was kind of cute, like them just getting together. And I just thought they set it up too with like, are you weird? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm weird. And
yes.
Like that whole, yeah.
Oh, thank God. Let's fuck.
Yeah. Pull the car over.
Do you want a sip of my beer I'm drinking while driving?
Yeah, sip. I was like, dude, yeah. People are just, I think that's a sign of the times too. People are just more freewheeling. Like,
how about this? Peace, love, dope.
Yeah, I think that's a sign of the times too. But yeah, they definitely are a little bit. You can tell the age quite a bit easier. And like Tom Atkins, fuck man, I love the guy, but he needs to always have a stash. His face looks like a pockmarked, like well-oiled catcher's mitt. Like it's just this weird flesh, almost like one of those aliens from Fire in the Sky.
I've never seen that. That sounds terrifying though.
Oh, dude, Fire in the Sky is awesome. DB Sweeney, 92. It's got one of the most horrific, freaky as shit alien abduction. Like it actually shows like him getting fucked with by aliens. Like anal probe jokes aside, like they like. I don't want to spoil it. It's fucking horrific. It scared the shit out of me when I was like 10. And I was like, I'll never watch that again. And I watched it again when I was like 25. And it was just as fucking freaky. Damn. It's a good flick. It's not a good flick. That part, though, is awesome. So check it out for that.
It's a great 10 minutes.
Yeah. Atkins, he looks, I made a note too. He looks like a beetle. That haircut, Jesus Christ. Poor guy's got like the Will Byers, like fucking mushroom top. But I don't know. I kind of like them just getting together. She seemed like kind of like a vagabond, and him too. He's just like a stray dog, you know, that's like in town for a little while. He's fishes 2 days a week and drinks the rest. And he just seems like an okay dude.
Yeah, he seemed cool.
Yeah, just a dude duding it up. He's like I don't know if he was. I guess I'm assuming he was a sex symbol in the 80s, but I know like even today in like his 60s or 70s, however old, he's old as shit. He's still like a bit of a sex symbol though, and I think that is, to Steve's point, maybe there's like some daddy stuff going on there, but I don't know, man. Like I don't really get it, I guess.
Yeah, I wouldn't go out of my way to say he's a handsome fella, but I think it's like the attitude and just kind of like the gravitas, dick swagger that he's got going on, maybe.
Oh, he's got a huge dick for sure.
I'm sure he's got a basket for sure.
I don't recognize him from anything else. Is this like his biggest thing or?
No, he's kind of.
What do you think is his most notable?
Well, let me say this real quick too. I kind of got. It's weird. I got into the Tom Atkins game knowing who he was kind of later in life. And now since I've understood he seems like he's just below the surface of like being one of these guys that broke and is super easily recognizable. But if you just go one layer further down, he's pretty ubiquitous and pretty known as like a, I don't know, B-movie horror adjacent and horror like badass type dude, like a Mel Gibson, just not quite up there. But then he kind of just coasted in that lane pretty much his whole career. It seemed like he was in Lethal Weapon 1. I don't know if you remember him, Michael Hunsaker, where he's like, "You got to kill them, Roger, kill them." He was in that, but he's probably most well known for Halloween 3 and Night of the Creeps. What do you think, Bob?
Yeah, those are the big two, and then this would be probably number 3, I guess, as far as I'm aware.
I know he was in Maniac Cop too. I can't remember him having a huge role in that one, but yeah, he's kind of. I think of him the same as like Tony Todd, the dude who played Candyman. You ever seen Candyman, Steve?
Nope.
Fuck. He was in the Final Destinations too. I can't. His name's like Bloodworth or something, but yeah, he's just like just below the surface. Cool guy. Plays like the cool dude. In Halloween 3, he's kind of like the same character.
Yeah.
Like he's banging someone probably 18 years his junior, and he's always drinking. Like he's always got like a 6-pack, or he's at a bar shooting something.
It's Miller time.
Yeah. Dude, I think you would like Night of the Creeps a lot, Steve. That's a good one. I think next Halloween, that would be a good Halloween pick for sure. And he's got some really good one-liners, like it's Miller time. He starts fucking blasting zombies and shit. Like
Nice.
He's awesome. What's his other one? Thrill Me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That'd be thinking about it now, that would be a really fun one. But he's dope too. I like him a lot in Halloween 3, and that's got some coastal California stuff in it too. So I think you might dig that as well if you like The Fog. Yeah, for some reason when I was watching this, I was like, I always think that Atkins gets taken out early, but he survives the whole damn thing, which I'm cool with. He's a cool dude, and he goes out of his way too, because like when the seagrass first like is reported missing, and we know what happens, everyone got murked on it, but he's like, shit, I gotta find out what's going on, like because it seems like he fishes with them occasionally, or he's buds with those guys, and he tries to get to the bottom of it and see what's going on. And then he's like kind of him and Jamie Lee in tow. They're like, super simpatico all of a sudden, and she's like chasing him around, and there are our eyes and ears for like the story and figuring out, oh, these ghosties are fucking, they got a little bit of Final Destination, little poltergeist shit, and then they can manifest and fucking kill you like corporally with weapons. I liked all that kind of stuff wrapped up.
I think there's an aspect to this that's very like the ghost pirate aspect of this is extremely Scooby-Doo, and I watched a lot of Scooby-Doo growing up, so it like sort of is implanted in my brain to like anything with like a ghost pirate basically. But like that plus the like Halloween kind of pace and vibe that it has is makes it kind of like an instant home run. I think the first sort of like kill sequence, which like we don't really hardly see anything, but it's still like super like atmospheric and I think effective. Whenever the fog rolls in on the boat and they're out to sea, and there's like 3 of them on there, they all get murdered in various different ways. But the one of the guys is like looking at whatever piece of equipment. He's like, "There's a huge ship right next to us," which we don't see, probably because like the budget I'm sure was nothing. But it like alludes that there's this huge like ghost pirate ship that they're rolling in on that's hidden by the fog, and you just can't see it, which is a super cool idea.
Yeah.
And then when Jamie Lee and party go on and like find it, and like everything is like doused in seawater and rusted, like it's been under, like the ship itself has been submerged for days, years, I don't know. And just like the inner workings of that just like add a lot of intrigue to the movie for me. It's super cool. I just like, how is that possible? It's not, but like it doesn't really matter. It's just interesting, I think.
Yeah, I think a lesser movie you could pick apart. But did you like this part, Steve, when they go into the autopsy and they kind of like talking about like the arteries, and like it's like, these kids we just lost, they were out for 10 days, and it's like this guy who you just picked out, and he was he was below deck of the ship. It's like it looks like he's been there longer. I liked all that kind of stuff, and like what you're going towards, Bob, like it's like somehow this supernatural force was able to like, wormhole them into like this fucked up dimension, and like, or just inflict that those conditions upon, so it's like when they see them, it's like, yeah, what happened to this guy is like he's been underwater for 30 days, and it's like no, it just like the force kind of sweeps over him
Yeah,
and,
like
and causes this shit to happen. I thought that was really cool too.
That's kind of what I thought. Like when the fog comes in, it's like speeding up the decomposition and, you know, coating everything in seawater. And there was the guy who gets stabbed in both eyes. That was fucking awesome.
Yeah,
And
that was cool as shit.
when he comes back in the room, awesome. Love it. There was the guy who kind of looked like Steve Guttenberg on the boat, the third guy that got killed.
Yeah. The little Jerry curl, weird
Like, is that
80s
the
fro.
Goot? No. Fuck.
The Goot. Dude, one of the lines I really liked was, I don't know, I can't remember if it was George Buckflower who said it, but like when Adrian Barbeau's like talking to him, like, hey, watch out for the fog bank, you know, it's rolling in, just, you know, be careful out there. And they're all drinking Budweiser and shit. And he's all, there ain't no fog bank out there. Like, what the hell is this broad talking about? There ain't no fog bank. And then he sees it roll up and he's like, hey, there's a fog bank out there. And he gets jacked immediately. I was like, that's awesome. Where are we going with this? It is funny how like they just get together, and it always strikes me how quickly it's like 1 or 2 scenes later, they're just shirtless in bed. She's like reading a book, you know, cue him like lighting a cigarette, and they're just like planning their next move. I was like, dude. I had to stick that in somewhere. I before we moved on. So I guess from there, I made a point to write down, this also kind of has like a Jaws kind of vibe. Like I could buy, you know, watching this around, like this would be like a good summertime horror watch because you're at the beach. But, you know, the priest, who we haven't really touched on, who's played by Hal Holbrook. I don't know what the fuck he's famous for, but I know the name. But he's our priest who kind of like stumbles upon via a wall breaking apart and this cryptic ass book from 100 years ago coming out. And so that's our first like point of exposition and talking about like what the fuck is going on with the fog and like this curse that's on this little coastal town. So he's what is his name? Father Patrick Malone. And he comes across, you know, like it's like a leper colony, we come to find out, that kind of ousted and then set up to be with the fake light, the fake campfire on shore. They were going to abscond their gold and then, you know, set them up to be, you know, shipwrecked or waylaid somehow just to get them out of their hair because they didn't want them in their little community. And that's where the supernatural element gets tied in with like the fog somehow. And it's like, okay, now there's a curse and it has been written, you know, like the 6 co-conspirators shall be punished 100 years from now or something like that. So to the Jaws point, it's like he understands all this, and then he tells Janet Leigh, he's like, hey, there's this town's fucked, you know, like it's cursed. So, like he doesn't say, you know, we need to evacuate or we need to do this or that. And she's just kind of like, yeah, you've been sucking back on the fucking communion wine a little bit too much. Like, yeah, whatever. And then, you know, later on it comes to the fore, and it reminded me, like, you know, when they're celebrating their 100th year as a town, and then the fog comes in. It reminded me of Jaws in that way a little bit.
In the journal that Father Malone finds hidden in the wall, there's a certain scene in the movie early on where he opens it up and he's kind of flipping through the pages and reading it, and there's like a screen cap. Like if you pause it in the right moment, you can like read the page and see what it says. But of course, the internet being what it is, like there's a screen cap that you can very easily go pull up and read. And it's written in cursive. But if you do read it clearly, there was a very salty fucking intern that was made to just like write bullshit in this journal and fill up the pages. Because when they freeze, like if you freeze frame it at the right time, you can see it says like something along the lines of like, my college education is being put to work to write dumb bullshit in this fucking movie's prop. It's time to bring in the fucking special words of the big tits and the tattoos and the shaved beavers. And like, it's just like fucking nasty, salty bullshit that is really funny.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. I totally missed that. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to pause it. Like, it happens so quickly, and it's so, like, difficult to read, you'd have to pause it to make any of it out.
Damn, that's crazy. I've always heard. I wonder if he had a problem with John Carpenter in particular, or that production, or he was just pissed about like his station in life at that point. Because by all accounts, I mean, even by the fact that he's worked with the same people so many times, he seems like he'd be a good hang and like a cool dude to make a movie with. So
you'd think so, yeah. And there's a Carpenter cameo at the very beginning too. He plays Bennett, I think.
Yeah. The long hair at the beginning, Steve.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, can I get paid?
Yeah, I thought that guy was for sure going to come back later on at some point.
Yeah, if you didn't know that was John Carpenter, I would have thought the same thing too. But
yeah,
because he looked young.
Yeah. I don't know how old he was, but yeah, he was 30, maybe 30. But
I would still say he looks pretty old for 30. I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I'm 37, and I feel like I look a little bit better than where
you don't look
at.
A day over 16, brother. God damn. The character that John Carpenter is playing is Bennett, but I found this online. I didn't know this until just doing research. His full name is Bennett Tramer, or Ben Tramer, who apparently Bennett Tramer is a real person who was Carpenter's schoolmate at USC. So, there you go. Some more Halloween wraparound bullshit there.
Nice. So I just started blasting.
I don't know if they wanted money or something more sexual. Michael Myers always wants something a little more sexual.
I guess the namesake of this film, I wrote down a note. What we think of the fog effects, like for the fog, quote unquote, when it would roll in, and largely CGI.
All of it. Computer generated fog.
No, I thought it was pretty good. I was like, how the fuck do they do that? Like,
so my layman opinion is, and I try to put it into context like we've talked about before, because it looks kind of corny, but if you think about that movie was made 42 years ago. 42 years before that was 1938. So if you were to ask somebody in 1938, like, how cool does this look? They'd be like, that's fucking unreal. That's awesome. So
my brain's going to explode now.
I try not to judge things too harshly looking back, just to put it in that type of context. Like how long ago was it? And then how long before that, what is that, like Wizard of Oz shit?
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't knock it too much for that.
Right on.
I thought it was funny when she was looking at the fog and calling out like the streets, like, all right, that's a little.
Yeah. I think one of the few bones I have to pick about this is how quickly it seems like she understands that there's like something malevolent involved with the fog. Like when she's talking with the weatherman, it's almost like it feels like she's seeing along with you what's happening to the weatherman, and it's like, oh fuck, this fog is nefarious and can kill you. Or maybe she just takes that by like cause and effect, like the fog swept up the seagrass, they're all dead, so maybe she thinks it's just a force, that'll like a chemical or something, for all she knows. But that's one thing I'm always like, how does she know that the fog being there is going to fuck you up instantaneously?
Well, maybe she had kind of heard the legends as well, because when she got that piece of driftwood or from the boat that was like bleeding water and fucking up her whole shit, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
she's immediately on board. Yeah, it's a little loose, but it's an interesting idea for a character to just like hole up in a lighthouse who has like, I guess she's got a bird's eye view, but it also feels like she has to walk down 40 flights of stairs, and like I don't know how she can see anything from where she's at exactly, but it's a great idea though for a movie. I think it's super cool, and like who doesn't want to be a DJ in a lighthouse? How fucking cool is that,
dude?
Even though she seems so pissed every time she signs off, like, ugh,
fuck this job.
But yeah, like they make it seem like it was her dream. Like she went in and bought out this lighthouse and the radio station. So she's like she complains about it, but it seems like she's just like, she's not really complaining about it. Because she bought it and she's in charge of it, so she has to run every shift. She hasn't been able to find anybody yet. But yeah, it totally seems like a badass like setup to like, that's your like day to day. I know we've talked about it pretty recently, but it's one of two of my like main like movie like idiosyncratic movie things that I like. The other one being like people investigating shit and like going through files, like Mark Ruffalo in Spotlight. But like people in a DJ booth. So like Pontypool, I love Pontypool.
Oh yeah.
There's a fucking just
Airheads.
like that setting for some reason just does it. What?
Texas Chainsaw 2.
Airheads.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I hate Texas Chainsaw 2. I fucking can't stand it. Anyway, I don't want to dwell on that, but
it's a weird movie.
Yeah, I don't fucking like it. I don't like what's his name, Chop Top. It's just so over the top. It's just it's like mayonnaise. Fuck that. It was funny, dude. Naderade, he was talking about like people were talking about on our Slack channel talking about mayo. And I was like, fuck, I hate mayo. And Naderade was from Ghoulish Uni. He was like, hey, just put it on a fucking flour tortilla and you'll be all right.
No. No.
This is a mayo burrito. A mayorito.
Does
Your next invention.
Fucking asshole.
Does he heat it up, or is it just mayo?
I think he was commenting on the fact that I'm on a streak recently of putting just juxtaposing all the culinary bullshit onto a tortilla. He's like, yeah, just do that and you'll like it, you fucking
hot
weirdo.
Mayo sounds even worse though, to be honest.
Yeah, put it on a tortilla, you pig.
Exactly what he's going for. I'm sure of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
The fog.
Yo, Billy. What?
Yeah.
White trash?
We used to put margarine on a tortilla and microwave it and then just roll that shit up, and don't look at me like that.
Jesus Christ.
Don't look at me like that, Mr. I drink coffee creamer straight from the bottle.
Hey, man. That was twice, and I was out of line. No, dude, I used to love Triscuits and just a field of a brand new like country crock margarine and just whoosh, just ski on the slopes of I'm no stranger to margarine.
That's intense. I love Triscuits though. I'm a Triscuit slut for sure.
Dude.
You go a Ridge or what are your flavors?
What are your thoughts on rye Triscuits?
I don't like them. They like get stuck in my teeth. I don't. Maybe it's just my fucked up teeth or whatever. But they just like get fucking rammed in there. I can't get them out. It's weird.
Well, lucky for you, they discontinued them. But I'm not bitter about it.
Hallelujah. There's like
despite my
avocado?
several emails to the company, they.
There's like an avocado flavor I think that I dig, and like a sun-dried tomato I think that's pretty good.
I fuck with the sun-dried tomato. Yeah, that's good.
Salt and pepper. You can't ever go wrong. It's all good. Put some cheese on it. Some mayo I guess if you're into that.
Yeah.
Just dip it into the Dukes and go to town.
And then just put all that inside a tortilla and you're good to go.
Whenever he's talking, when what's his face in Pulp Fiction is talking about when he went to Amsterdam and McDonald's and you can get a beer in a glass, and he's like, you know what they use instead of ketchup? Mayonnaise. Their French fries, they drown them in that shit. I'm like, ugh, fuck. Every time I'm like, how could you do that?
It's gross.
It's not
anyway. Back to the DJ booth shit that really fucking tickles my fancy is there's another After Midnight. So not the movie you're thinking of by Jeremy. I can't remember his name. There's an anthology from like 1987, somewhere between 1987 and 1992. There's a horror anthology called After Midnight, and one of the vignettes takes place in like a DJ booth in like downtown New York, played by Marge Helgenberger. And there's like a stalker serial killer dude. That one, I fucking love that one. There's a Tales from the Crypt with Miguel Ferrer that takes place in a DJ booth. So I was sold immediately. And I thought the same thing. Like I for some reason, I thought she was like high up in the town and she was like in a panopticon situation. Yeah. And every time I watch it, it's like, oh yeah, she's in the lighthouse. And if you didn't know kind of the region, or if you just kind of like glossed over that scene where she's aiming down, it looks like it's like 2 miles down. It's like, yeah, how the fuck is she like calling out the streets and like being able to, because I feel like where that's situated, like the city streets must be, like thousands of feet above where that is, because she's like right on
Yeah.
the coast, you know, like right on
Seems
the
that way.
rocks. But I can see past that.
Jeremy Gardner is the director of After Midnight that I was blanking on too, man. I had to look it up.
Yeah.
Something that like kind of cracked me up about watching The Fog this time around was like when it rolls into town, like some of the first things that it does is like it knocks out all the phone lines and then it rolls over to the power plant and like takes out the generator. Like, this is a very sophisticated fog. Like taking out all this electrical shit. I don't know. It was interesting. Well-read fog.
Yeah, that's where it made me. That's why I put the note. I was like, kind of got a Final Destination thing. Like it's got like some kind of like consciousness evolved, and it's hitting like major points of infrastructure, like or like a serial killer who's planning to kill someone and cuts the phone line, and like is preparing. But maybe that's part of the supernatural thing that it's got going for it. Is it's trying to set its trap perfectly, to get its retribution. But I did like that when she's like going to make the call and the cop's like on the phone, and the way they pace it up, and he's just like, "Hello," and it's just like chunk, 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 like the fucking phone or the electrical lines just go out instantly.
Yeah, I wouldn't even call it a criticism, but the only thing that I was kind of thinking that would make it cooler was if the fog came back and specifically targeted descendants of the people who killed them, because when they took out the first people on the boat, it's like, okay, well, it's kind of killing indiscriminately. But then when it went after the father, I was like, oh, okay, so yeah, they do have like a targeting ability. It would have been cool to find out like, oh no, the 3 guys on the boat, they were actually the grandchildren of 3 of the people who
so
whatever.
Yeah.
That was the only thing that I thought could have been a cool thing to add, but I wouldn't even call it a complaint. Just
that makes sense, and we really don't know anything about anybody that dies other than the father. Like the weatherman, like we don't really know anything about him, or the babysitter, or the dudes on the boat.
The poor granny who's taking care of fucking Andy or whatever the fuck his name is.
Yeah.
Dude, I thought that was brutal.
Yeah.
Well, and then the fog. It's Andrew,
because she's like, Andy, you should go to your room, and opens the door, and it's like 4 fucking zombie fucks just take her out, and it's like, god damn.
Well, and if it's killing indiscriminately,
time,
it went all the way through town without killing anybody. So there is a selective ability. So.
Well, I think the selective part goes back to like the strict numbering of the curse, because 6 people were on the ship.
No, I get that. But at this point, there was 5 dead, and the fog is going all the way through town up to the church.
Maybe it was like, okay, for sure, we got to kill Father Malone. Can we agree on this?
So
everyone else is fair game.
One.
Let's just get to 5, and then
keep fogging until we fucking find Father Malone. Okay,
he's on the people to kill list at the top, and whatever it takes to get there.
The Steve Buscemi.
Glad I called that guy.
Yeah.
Dude, that ELO song is such a fucking banger.
It is.
Damn.
Yeah.
Dude, I remember I had never heard of them before. I remember you brought them into work one time, and dude, from then on, that was a heavy rotation.
Dude, they are such an underrated fucking band.
Yeah. Yeah, that's when I always forget about them. And then you flash back, and it's like, god damn, I've been listening to ELO for 3 days.
So many good tunes.
ELO blackout. Where am I?
Oh yeah, well, I wrote this. Haha, old Dan thinks Stevie's on drugs because she said the fog's glowing. That's the weatherman. Like, he's just like totally not buying in, and she's like full go. She's like, no, there's something fucking weird with this fog. It was glowing. And he's like, oh yeah, okay.
Puff puff pass. Okay.
Yeah. I liked how incredulous he was all the way to the bitter end. He's like, who's fucking around in here, and all this like weird fogs like enveloping him, and like it's like, wouldn't you have a little bit of a different attitude? Like, hey, what the fuck's going on here right now? Maybe I should leave. Yeah,
fucking Dan O'Bannon. What a dumb shit.
Poor Mrs. Kubritz. They got Granny. Yeah, and then Tom Adkins comes in, G'd up from the feet up at the last second, like rips little Andy Milonakis out the window, and then from there it kind of picks up into like we're at like the Alamo, like it's understood that we need to get to the church. We need to get to the church. And so
I've just got to interject a little bit.
Yeah.
When he gets into the truck and Jamie Lee Curtis is driving, and holy fuck, she does not know how to drive that truck. I would never, ever jump into the passenger seat of my own car, especially if it's a stick.
Yeah.
and then just continue to scream in her face like, go. That's not helping.
Well, no, he wasn't. I feel like he was like motivational. Like he's like, you'll get it. It's going to go. Like he wasn't like, get it at the fucking gear, you know, like
I would.
Only till I know you would, but at the end, it wasn't until he's like, reverse.
Charlie Brown.
I would have Spartan kicked her out of the driver's side.
Crisscross. Everybody clap your hands, you know, the whole thing.
Excuse me.
Like, thank you for destroying my clutch and transmission. You're dead now.
So the other part of this that I thought was kind of funny too, that maybe it was a function of like the story that we just got to like wrap this up, but they get back to the church and then it's like, he's like, oh yeah, I couldn't bear to read past like this point. And it's like, you continue to read and you find out like, oh yeah, you just need to return the gold and it's housed within the walls or whatever. So then, you know, they proceed to destroy the innards of this church to, you know, gather up the gold as like the ghosty, the fog, the pirates are like manifested at this point, I think, for most of them. And they're at the Alamo at this church with Father Malone. And then that's where we get that huge ass, like fucking, what is that? Like ingot formed into a huge ass golden cross, and it seems like it weighs a fucking ton. Like he's really struggling with that thing. That struck me this time too. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Why the hell would he make the gold into a cross? It just seems weird as shit. Like, is he wearing it on a chain? Like what? Go spend it. Why did he make it into a cross? I don't understand.
Yeah, that didn't make sense to me either. Yeah, because in his journal entry, it was talking about like we can use this gold to turn our little town into a big whatever, and then later on it's like I'm just going to go ahead and keep it all. Like, okay, well, how did that translate into turning your town into this big town it is now?
Yeah, just to hide it in the walls.
I don't know. It looks cool though.
Yeah, it's cool as shit.
Was pretty fucking
that
cool.
effect was pretty rad. I wish though, like it would have like when Tom Atkins comes up and like pulls him back. I wish it would have like ripped his like burned his arms off or something or done something crazy. But I do like the fake out at the end where it's like, oh, he's like, I made it, and he's like, but what about me? I was the sixth. Like, why wouldn't you take me or something? Then it's like, I got you, bitch. I'm right here.
Dead. Good shit.
I thought it ended good. I always forget about that. It's like, oh yeah, he does die. Yes. Cool. So yeah, I think that's it in a nutshell with the old fog there. Is this one you would recommend, Steve?
Yeah, I guess I would. I guess it depends on the person. I don't know if I'd bring it up in casual conversation. Like, oh hey, I just watched this thing. You've got to check it out.
Hey, have you seen the fucking fog?
But
you mentioned you saw it with the missus. What'd she think? Was it a enjoyable watch?
I actually didn't ask because I didn't want to discuss it prior to our pod.
Okay.
But just going back to where the father says, I didn't read any further. How do you not read the whole fucking thing? When this book is full of like the most insane information.
Yeah.
I didn't read any further. Well, you just reread the entire book to the people in front of you. Why wouldn't you read any further? I'm sure there's a lot of good information in there.
Yeah. And I mean, from the beginning, he's like, this town's cursed. Maybe he's just like in a fucking K-hole of like guilt and like, he's just like, we're all fucked. You know, like, it's like, yeah, again, something that should have been to my attention yesterday. Yeah. Could have saved old poor Mrs. Kubritz and traumatizing Andy Milanakis.
I will say I was a little unclear where it said like, or you could just give the gold back, and then he gave the gold back and he killed him. Like, what would have happened early on, he just gave the gold back.
How does he set up that meet with the fog? Like, all right, yeah, I got it. I want to absolve the sins of the father, and where can we do the handoff?
Yeah, sorry.
Town Square, high noon.
Yeah.
Yeah, fog. Be there.
Give me the ringer, dude.
The ringer.
Fucking amateurs.
The royal we. My fucking whites. Okay. I made a note here too. I think another reason I really like this too is along with like the radio DJ stuff, but it kind of has like an old timey radio vibe that I picked up from, like, I'm a huge fan of American Graffiti and the Warriors also. And they have this kind of cool, like Adrian Barbeau. It's not super consistent, but for quite a bit of the film, it's like, the radio DJ as narrator is kind of going along, and she's kind of filling in like little gaps, like, hey, watch out for that fog bank, and she's talking to the town, us watching the film. I like those two films have that through line too, like with American Graffiti, you have Wolfman Jack kind of narrating what's going on with the kids as they're going throughout their night. And then in the Warriors too, you have the gal from fucking Where in the World's Carmen Sandiego. She's like the radio DJ saying, oh, these Warriors are tough. You got to watch out. Like every battle, every like major point in their journey, she's like narrating along. So that kind of thing, I was like, all of that wrapped together with the ghosties and it being a Carpenter flick. The fucking music is awesome in this film. I was going to ask you, what'd you think of did you like the score in this one? And did it remind you of Christine a little bit? Did you pick up on that? Feels very Christine-y to me, like the synth and the score of this one.
Me?
Yeah, Steve, you.
Yeah. I got more of a Halloween vibe than I got like a Christine vibe. And yeah, I liked it.
There was a couple points that reminded me, like maybe it's like the imagery of Father Malone in the church, but like a tubular bells from like The Exorcist, like that main theme crossed up with more of a Christine for me is the way but I can see it totally too with the Halloween. This is very close to Halloween too. I think this is 2 years after Halloween was released. John Carpenter did this one. I know you're a sucker for like this kind of synth heavy, and you're a Carpenter fan too in general, but I think the one gripe I have, Bob, let me know, is I feel like they could have beefed up the score a little bit. It felt kind of sparse on this watch, I noticed.
Yeah. I like it as it is. I think it kicks in when it really needs to, and it does have that like Halloween vibe, but it's almost got more of a, I don't know, like airy or like more of an like an aquatic kind of vibe to it that I think suits the movie pretty well. But it definitely has that like John Carpenter sort of like stamp. You can tell that like he's the guy that put the music to the movie. I think it holds up pretty well. I guess they probably could have beefed it up, but I don't feel like when I watch it, I don't find myself thinking like, man, I wish there was some more like synth score happening here. Like it doesn't feel lacking.
Yeah, that's fair. And I don't feel that way either. I just feel like when I was watching it, I was like, I feel like they went a little light and they could have gone heavier. It doesn't change my opinion of the film. Like, I think they needed that, but I think that it would have been welcomed if they did add on a little bit more to that. This one too, I know, Steve, you probably haven't seen Prince of Darkness, but I like Prince of Darkness a lot, quite a lot. And I think this one is a good, like this one feels more of a straight transition from like versus watching like a Halloween film and going to like some of John Carpenter's later stuff. I feel like The Fog and Prince of Darkness have a similar vibe. Although Prince of Darkness is quite a bit longer, but I have thought about like doing the Apocalypse trilogy at some point and hitting those three all back to back. But
Halloween be perfect.
Yeah, it would. I'm excited for spooky season to kind of pick and choose again. That was a lot of fun this past year.
Yeah, you guys talked about some really good shit for sure.
Yeah, we tried. All right, yeah, I guess you guys have any final thoughts about The Fog.
I think I could. I'm glad that you liked it, Steve. First and foremost, I wasn't sure if you would, because I could see somebody like watching this with modern eyes and thinking it's a bit like slow and boring. Like I could definitely see somebody watching this and be like, that's a fucking boring ass movie. Nothing happens. Even when people die, you don't really see much of anything. What's the big deal? So I'm glad that Steve liked it. I think it is a good one to like sort of show a younger audience, because there is no blood and guts. It really is like a tried and true ghost story. So like if you got kids or whatever, I think this is a pretty palatable movie. Again, they might be bored by it, but it's nothing. No nudity, not a lot of like cuss words or anything like that. So it could fly, I think, for some younger audiences pretty well.
Word. Cogent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And when you said earlier too about this being right up your alley by virtue of seeing so many Scooby-Doo episodes, and it definitely rings true for sure. That would be a good kind of like, maybe if you wanted to get a younger crowd into it, get them started on Scooby-Doo, and then like maybe escalate to like this. Because you make a good point. I mean, the kills, even for like a younger, like I would say even like 9, 10, 11 around there, maybe if you, depending on, your preference, you could like kind of shield their eyes from that. The first kill sequence of the seagrass is like pretty much the most graphic, in my opinion. Like the ship out on the sea, everything else is pretty tame. And it's more of like a thriller kind of at that point, kind of getting away from the fog. But all right, cool. Yeah, I'm stoked you like this one. I was a little on the fence, but I think at this point I'm kind of, instead of low high expectation, I'm just making it no expectation, because I've been fooled and burned a couple times. So, but yeah, this definitely bumps the average up. And I think we're back on like a 3-game winning streak here for flicks wise. So let's see. We don't have any housekeeping to speak of. Yeah, I think the last one was like, this is pod racing, which Chris seemed to be more in tune with, like the memery of that. I don't know what the fuck that means, but
I mean, are we going to mention at all Jamie Lee Curtis and how unimportant she was and forgettable?
yeah. I mean, I like to see her in this film. I liked,
Why?
I don't know, just like her presence, and her palling around with Tom Atkins was fun. Like they're kind of like the Scooby-Doo crew of like figuring out what's going on in the town, kind of remotely, with Adrienne Barbeau holding on the fort at the lighthouse and them kind of navigating. I mean, you're right. She doesn't really do much. It's just kind of like name recognition, but she wasn't a huge star at this point either. Like she's hot off the heels of Halloween in 78. I mean, this is 1980. This is only 2 years later. So I think at the time it wasn't like she was just another actress and she got a gig. It wasn't like, now looking at it, it's like she's this big figure, and maybe your expectations are slightly skewed. Fair, not fair? What do you think, Bob?
Yeah, I mean, you could remove her from the movie and just have Tom Atkins do all the shit alone, and it would be the exact same movie. But it is cool to see Jamie Lee Curtis, primarily because you're like, oh yeah, it's just it's a familiar face, and you're like, oh, that's nice to see her. And also, I think it's cool to see her with her mother in this movie, which is the first movie they ever did together. I think they only ever did this, and then H2O. Those are like the only two, I believe, that they did together. So that's kind of cool too. But character-wise, she adds like maybe a dash of charisma, but like nothing plot-wise really.
Yeah, she's just kind of like a scrapper, I think, like Tom Atkins. Like they're just like a couple, this pack of strays that are like thrust into like, like these vagabonds that are thrust into this weird situation together. I kind of like seeing that, but yeah, I guess you're not wrong.
But also, I don't want her to not be in the movie. So,
yeah, I do. I do have a colloquial corner. It's a real quick one, so
The colloquial corner.
did to us
the morning zoo. Damn, that's a bump.
I was even longer before that, and I was like, fuck, that's way too long.
You should like triple the length. Just make it so obnoxiously long.
I pretty much did. That like this is like heavily cut down. I was going for have you ever seen The Fifth Element?
Oh yeah.
I was going for like a Ruby Rod, like his big thing. You're live at 5 with Ruby Rod, your main man, and like yeah. So I went pretty ham on it, and I remember I played it, and we were like sitting here for like 15 seconds. So I was like, this is too long. For sure.
Make it 30. It's fine.
And of course, Steve has never seen The Fifth Element, so it's completely lost on him anyway. So, yeah, this one actually comes to us by way of Miles, who we had on for Possession recently.
Yeah.
He said, "Hey, I know you and Steve are up on the new slang kids use. Have you guys heard of Riz? I had to Google that one like the old sack of shit that I am. Before I pull up what I found on the internets, do you know what Riz means? New slang, Steve? Or have heard it in the wild?
I think Miles is much younger than we are, so
I don't think by much. Maybe he is. I don't know.
Is there any context for Riz?
No.
Okay.
Zero.
No, I have no idea.
Have you heard this one yet, Bob?
I have no idea what that means.
Okay. I pulled it up, and it's two pretty wildly different definitions. One of which is Riz is another word for spitting game, aka or / how good you are with pulling and sustaining bitches. Person one, are you from Tennessee? Because you the only 10 I see.
Dumb.
Yeah. You got Riz. The other one is with Riz. It says this word defines Riz as another term for gay or homosexual. Also, the phrase is a shortened version of with homosexual intent. So those are the two top Urban Dictionary entries for Riz. So no, I haven't heard it out in the wild either, and I don't know what it means still. So yeah, that's our colloquial corner for this week. Use at your own risk, or use at your own riz, I guess.
Do you mind if I jump in with a bit of a colloquialism
Hell
Please
yeah.
that
do.
I have prepared? So I was super late to the game on this. You guys might be very aware of what this means. I didn't. I just found out by way of my co-host on Straight Chilling. Do you know what mukbang is?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So Steve, you like you don't.
Mukbang.
Mukbang, yeah.
I don't know. Do I?
It's on YouTube pretty frequently. If you do any amount of YouTube rabbit holing.
This was I found out about this maybe a couple months ago, so it was news to me too, man.
Depending on your algorithm, I suppose.
I guess, yeah. So one of my Straight Chilling co-hosts lives in South Korea, and from what I understand, this originated in South Korea, and it's YouTube personalities or just people on YouTube that eat a copious amount of food on YouTube, and people like to watch that happen, and that is known as mukbang.
Some of it's fucking gnarly, man. Like a chick sitting there with like a big pho bowl, but it's like a live octopus. Like some of the more extreme ones, and they're fucking just inhaling a fucking octopus, like a la like that scene in the OG, the Korean Old Boy, where I don't know if it's Korean or Japanese, but at the end when he fucking downs that live octopus, yeah, or it's just like copious amounts of like a lot of seafood, like shrimp and like just big ass like pho bowl styles of food, and just ingesting them.
So I haven't watched any
It's
of
gnarly.
it. That sounds really unpleasant.
Yeah.
To be
Some
honest.
of it I think ties into like the ASMR community, like the people that get off on like the tingles and stuff, like people like the mouth sounds. But some of it I think too is just like the pure spectacle of just watching someone fucking down all that shit, or like live food. I have seen some weird shit though, like where people are saying like some of the, like a lot of times it's women and girls, and like they're like looking at like the number of eye blinks and like tiny, it's like Morse code and shit, like that they could potentially be like doing this against their will, and they're trying to like say fucking help me. And I haven't got too far down that rabbit hole, but I know there's like segments of people are like, these people are in trouble, like we need to fucking help them. They don't want to do mukbang, so potentially a slippery slope. But yeah, I'm familiar with it, and it's fucking gnarly.
Well, that sounds darker than I even knew. So thanks for shedding some light on that.
Yeah,
I guess.
Thanks for that fresh hell.
Yeah. There's a phrase that I came upon yesterday watching this absolute dog shit documentary that I don't even want to mention the name of, but I wanted to share it with you guys, because I know, Jim, you enjoy a weird turn of phrase or whatever, but I thought you might get a kick out of it. There's a super country dude, and he said that somebody says something dumb to you, and you can reply with, well, that ain't worth a lit fart in a wool mitten. There you go.
Oh, nice. I love it. Those are my favorite things in the world. One thing I was thinking about too was like, you're aware of this one, Steve, too. Like, I think now, like with our age group and our culture, if like you're broing down and like, you know, you're with the boys and they say something really stupid, you're like, huh, cool story, bro. You know, or like, yeah, cool, man, make me a sandwich. And it's like, I've picked up on it. This isn't new either, but I picked up on it, and I've had it confirmed by old dudes as well. But it's like when somebody's telling you like a really fucking annoying story, or you're out in public and someone's just small talking you and you're trying to get away. I was like, what do you say? Like, instead of like, yeah, cool story, bro, later, and you're at the car dealership or something, or getting your oil changed, and it's, I'll be darned. If you can, and listen for it out in the wild, you'll hear old people. It's a nice way of saying, cool, man, later, shut the fuck up. Like, I'm not interested. Like, this is a good way where you can just remove yourself, like kind of like an Irish goodbye. Like, oh, I'll be darned. And you're out of there. And I remember I was talking with one of our bosses about this, and he's like, yeah, I just give them an I'll be darned, or, well, there you have it. And then just leave and walk away.
There you have it.
Yep. There you have
Later.
it. I'm a big fan of the Irish goodbye too, so I had to sneak that in there somehow. Steve, what say you? I feel like you're an Irish goodbye guy. Do you know what that is?
Oh yeah. Saying goodbye without, or leaving without saying goodbye.
You leave through the bathroom window at a party.
Oh yeah.
Saying goodbye without leaving. You just never leave.
Linger.
See y'all later.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing to do. Okay, cool. Well, I think that's going to put a pin in it for The Fog. Let us know what you thought of it, or anything in general. You can reach out to us at wax@waxingtheporpoise.com if you want to send us an email. We're also on Instagram as Waxing the Porpoise, and Twitter is @waxingtheporp. Also, I don't think you know this, Steve, but Straight Chillin' just got done releasing their 400th episode in like, what is it, 6 years or 8 years? So it's basically like a show a week for that many years.
8 years, yeah.
Damn.
So, like, you know, 52 weeks in a year. Like, it's pretty insane milestone. So, I just wanted to say huge congrats on that again, too. And they're just coming off of that. And where can they find you guys?
Yeah, you can search Straight Chilling Podcast anywhere you get your podcasts, Spotify, iTunes, wherever. Also on social media, we're on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. And if you just search Straight Chilling with a G at the end there, podcast, you'll be sure to find us. We review a horror movie every week. And like Jim said, we just hit 400. So we cover old stuff, new stuff, good stuff, bad stuff. No matter what you're into, I'm sure there's a movie that we've talked about that you might have an interest in. So you can also find us at straightchillingpodcast.com. And we're pretty easy to find. So if you're into horror at all, please do check us out. Yeah. Thanks, guys, for having me. Also, really was awesome.
Yeah, totally. Thank you very much for coming on. And yeah, definitely check out Straight Chillin'. They're fucking awesome. I've been listening to them since like 2017-ish, I think, around there. Yes, purveyors of Malort. Check out Malort wherever you're able.
Sure.
Don't. Do not.
Do yourself a favor. Skip it. I want to wax y'all's car for a second too, real quick though, before we sign off, if that's cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I listened to most of your episodes, I believe. Not all of them, but most of them. And I know you guys are like right out the gate had like a really solid chemistry going. I mean, you're old friends for sure, and that comes through. But I also dig the format of the show where you kind of switch the topics up, and specifically where the episodes where Jim, you were sort of interviewing Steve about his life as an advantage player, as I've come to find out that's like the preferred term and not card counter. That shit was like, it sounds like the Wild West out there, man. Like it was blowing my mind. So be careful. And the I guess unexplained disappearances that you guys talk about, stuff I never knew of, and more recently the episodes with your friend Dick Dog. It's all like really interesting, very moving stuff. So I don't know. I dig the sort of variety show that you have going on, and your back and forth banter is enjoyable. So congratulations to y'all for doing what you do, and I hope you keep doing it. It's good shit. So
awesome.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, man.
Thank you. On a serious note, yeah, that means a lot coming from, I don't want to call you throw you around professional lightly, but I mean, you guys do have a well-oiled machine, and by evidence by, keeping up with a show every week for 8 years is fucking insane. And the quality level of your guys' show and how you've just gotten better year over year. Your show is one of the, it's one of the automatics for me. It's like when I refresh my feed, or it's like, or I know what day the new Straight Chilling is coming out. It's my number one. I don't miss it any week, no matter what's going on, where, like you have your stable of stuff you listen to, you can catch up later, that kind of thing. So that means a ton coming from you guys. So thank you very much for the praise. And I'm having a lot of fun doing this with Steve. And I thought he and I would be a good combo just to like bullshit if all else. But it's been fun too to see his reaction to films and like be like the selfish side of me be redeemed after all these years. Like, fuck, you've never seen this. And like I'm finally getting to like fulfill that dream
Hell yeah.
in like a forced conversation thing. But yeah, it's been a ton of fun.
Yeah keep it up, dudes. I really have been enjoying it, so I appreciate it.
I appreciate you joining us on the show and adding your insight to the fog. Yeah, totally, tons of fun. And we'll see if we can do it again in the future. That would be awesome. So yeah, thanks again for coming on, Bob. Check out Straight Chillin', mother truckers. Steve, you got any closing final thoughts before we cut this bitch off?
Nope. Thank you, Robert.
You're very welcome, Steven.
Robert. Alrighty. Well, next week we will be joined once again by Chris from Channel 83, where we'll be discussing the 2001 documentary Murder on a Sunday Morning, about the criminal trial against Brenton Butler in Jacksonville, Florida. This documentary actually won in 2002 the Academy Award for Best Documentary Feature, but it's still, like, I don't know a lot of people that have seen it whenever I bring it up, but it's fucking awesome. Check it out in advance and we'll talk about it. Right now it's streaming with ads on Tubi, Fandor, and then Canopy. If anybody knows what Canopy is, if you have a public library card, you can go online and log in and check stuff out for free streaming. It's pretty awesome. Check it out. Same kind of deal as like Hoopla is super cool too. All you need is a library card. So yeah, that's what we'll be checking out next week and wrap it about. So meet us back here and we'll see you when we see you, and we'll see you later. Thanks for joining us.